It's that time of the NFL offseason where big-time sports media companies just have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings. And today, ESPN is the latest culprit of that, and they embarrassed themselves yet again talking about the Minnesota Vikings. My name is Patrick Siepman. Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, ESPN was throwing some shade at our QB1, J.J. McCarthy. So let's start it off with this. If you believe in number 9, J.J. McCarthy, hit that thumbs up icon. I put today's goal as over 500 likes. It would be awesome if we could crush that. So if you guys scroll down, see we're not at 500 likes, help me out and hit that thumbs up icon. You never know. What if J.J. McCarthy's watching today's show and he looks down, he sees 5 million likes out of Vikings fans supporting him. So hit that thumbs up icon and let's dive into it. So Seth Walder, shout out to Dylan for finding a photo of him. That's awesome. He dropped his football power index. Now, this is just kind of ranking. It's pretty much like a power rankings, kind of ranking each and every team, giving some projections on where they could land next season. And he had the Vikings about middle of the pack. This is what he had to first say on the NFC North. It's not a big surprise, but every team in the NFC North ranks in the top half of the football power index ratings. Detroit leads the way at number 4, followed by the Packers at number 8, and then the Minnesota Vikings at 15, and the Bears at 16. We'll talk about that BS ranking here in a second, but first, the NFC North is a wagon. I was saying earlier this offseason, I think maybe the AFC West could compete with the North in terms of the best division in football. I'm going to walk that back. I think this division is going to be a gauntlet this year, and if any team in this division, like the Lions last year, go 6-0, you just got to tip your cap. And, if you do go 6-0 in the NFC North, you'll probably win 15 games to get the number 1 seed, just like the Lions did this past season. But the NFC North is a wagon. I understand that. But the Packers being at number 8 and the Vikings at 15, I don't understand that whatsoever. But this is the part where ESPN embarrasses themselves. Seth Walder writing this. If there is a curveball, it's that Minnesota ranks only 15th after going 14-3 in 2024. But the Vikings relied on their defense, which ranked 3rd in EPA per play last season, while ranking a mediocre 15th on offense. And even though Brian Flores remains as defensive coordinator, defensive success is hard to replicate. Plus, second-year quarterback J.J. McCarthy is an unknown after missing his rookie season with a torn ACL. This is not a typo. This is exactly what he wrote in his article. While he might possess more upside than last year's starter Sam Darnold, McCarthy's downside is almost certainly lower. Therefore, the FPI gives Minnesota only a 19% chance to win the division and a 43% chance to reach the playoffs. And we can just address the elephant in the room here. ACL, come on. Like, Cowherd said it was a torn ACL before. Multiple NFL media members have just frankly gotten this flat out wrong, and I can't understand it. We here at Chat Sports, we have a boss. If my boss, James Yoder, saw me writing an article about the Minnesota Vikings and I said torn ACL over torn meniscus, I might be canned. This is just lazy. And also the editor, if you're going in there and you're reading this and you're like, oh, well, JJ didn't tear his ACL, he tore his meniscus. How does that get published? And then we can also just dive in, to the part of this that really bothered me because, so what? He called it torn ACL. I don't really care. But this makes zero sense. How could you possibly think the Vikings defense will get worse? Brian Flores is back. The only player they lost from last season is Cameron Bynum, and I think Cameron Bynum might have been better for his dances than what he actually did on the field. I don't get this as at all whatsoever. If you're just saying, oh, Vikings defense won't replicate it. It's just hard to replicate success on the defensive side of the football. We'll dive into this. So Vikings last year, their defensive ranks, they're 5th in points per game, gave up the 13th, they were 13th in yards per game, 10th in yards per play, 2nd in third down percentage, 2nd best against the run. Just simple. How do you become a Super Bowl defense? You stop the run, you don't give up a lot of points. Vikings are also 2nd in sacks, and you get off the field on third down. They're going to be able to do that again next season. And also, I swear, maybe ESPN just wasn't paying attention at 7:30 in the morning, day 2 of NFL free agency. What was the weakest point of the Vikings defense last year? I think it was the interior of their defensive line. Well, what do? You go get Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. The Vikings were second in sacks last season, and they struggled to get home with 4. Imagine how dominant this defense is going to be with their ability to just roll out Allen, Hargrave, Van Ginkel, Turner, Grenard, send all 5. They stand no chance. Even if you need to drop Turner or Van Ginkel in the coverage, one of those guys is going to get home. I don't understand this. I'll explain, again, more on why I think these NFL media members think this way around the Vikings here in a second. But I ask you guys this. Pick a sports company for me. You rocking with us here at Chat Sports? Give me a CS down below in the comment section. If you're rocking with ESPN, you can just tell on yourself and you can type, I'm a casual. Because I guarantee you, there are a lot of people out there who just read that article and they're going to buy into it. So if you mess with us here at Chat Sports, drop a CS. If you rock with ESPN, type I'm a casual down below in the comment section. So it's also that time of the offseason where I tell myself this every single year, and I was telling producer Dylan this. I want this Bears media love to not impact my life. But again, it has. The media wants the Bears to be good so bad. I think if you polled every NFL media member and you said who's going to be better, Bears or Vikings, I bet you would be 70% leaning with the Bears over the Vikings. But again, Seth Walder, our guy, was hyping up the Bears, talking about how good their offseason was. Meanwhile, the Bears moved in the opposite direction of the Vikings. That was a crazy add-in right there. After Chicago finished 24th in total efficiency, EPA per play adjusted for garbage time last season, the FPI sees it as a minimal above average team entering 2025. The reasons for optimism are obvious. The Bears brought in new head coach Ben Johnson and added significant talent to their offensive line, and a quarterback, Caleb Williams, now has a season of NFL experience, even if that experience was shaky. Seth, did the Vikings not add talent to their offensive line? I could make an argument the additions of Will Fries and Ryan Kelly are going to be more impactful than Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, and Joe Tooney. At least Fries and Kelly are coming from the same thing, and we know continuity and chemistry among the offensive line is so key. But again, shout out to the 3-time offseason champs. And these guys who make these predictions where it's like, this is the year the Bears are going to turn around. This is the year. Eventually, they're going to be right, and the Bears will eventually have a good year. But you can't just say the same thing every single offseason and just hope you're right. Again, the Bears 3 times in a row, they're the dark horse Super Bowl team. I promise you at some point this year, we will get multiple articles. Caleb Williams, is he a dark horse MVP candidate? We were doing the same thing with Justin Fields 3 years ago. And, my biggest issue and why I get so fired up about this is it all comes back to J.J. McCarthy. And I understand, it's his first year starting. He doesn't have a lot of experience. I get that. But why won't people give the Vikings roster as a whole any credit? Football, team sport. The most team sport out of all major sports. The other 52 guys on this roster are studs. They got top-end talent. They got great depth. They're loaded at every single position. Why won't people just give the rest of this team credit? And it just all comes back to these lazy takes. If you ask people, what are your thoughts on, the Minnesota Vikings heading in the next season? It's always, what if J.J. McCarthy isn't the guy? What if J.J. McCarthy ends up being a bust? What if he is the damn guy? What if J.J. McCarthy is a top 10 quarterback right away? How are we going to be talking about this Vikings team? Because the same thing happened last offseason and the NFL media got burned. Where again, I was up here on the show. I predicted the Vikings go 10-7. I undersold that. But I remember people were calling me crazy because it's like, dude, you don't have a quarterback. And I understood that. It was just Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy. But if you looked at the rest of the team and you look at the coaching staff, it's A+ at every single other position. This same thing happened last year. And it's happening again this year. The Vikings win total was 6.5 before entering last season. They won 14 games. It's 8.5 this year. I guarantee you they're going to win more than 9 football games. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the Minnesota blinders or you think about this on paper. You had Kevin O'Connell, just won Coach of the Year. You got the best weapon in the National Football League. You got a great offensive line. You have two good running backs. You have an elite front seven of the defense. Secondary, yeah, is there a lot of top-end talent, but you still got some veterans and you still got some dogs there. And then you got Brian Flores, probably a top 3 defensive coordinator, if not the best defensive coordinator. The same thing is going to happen again. And again, I am doing a bad job of this. I told myself I'm not going to get fired up over other people talking about my football team, but I'm going to be honest. I like hearing what ESPN and like Fox Sports, all these guys have to say about the Vikings, but sometimes I just need to turn the TV off because they don't know what they're talking about, and I just can't wait for the season because the Vikings have a very gettable schedule early. And I think they're going to start off 4-1, 5-0 again. And I can't wait to see how they're going to spin zone it because also last year during the year, you guys remember how tough the Vikings schedule was on paper during the first 5 games? Where it was like, who did the Vikings play week 1 last year? They were in New York against the Giants, and they beat the Niners, they beat the Texans, they beat the Packers in Green Bay. And remember, the NFL media just kept saying, Sam Darnold's going to turn into a pumpkin eventually. Now, they were a little right on that week 18 and wildcard round, but they just will never give this team credit. And I'm cool with it. I would honestly want it this way, but I don't know. Just the Bears love, the Packers love, yada, yada, all this nonsense. I just, it gets me fired up, man. It gets me excited for the season. But it all comes back to J.J. McCarthy. Show him some love to close out today's show. Type those 9s down below in the comments section, and we'll see you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes.